The Colombian government and the country's largest paramilitary drug trafficking organization, known as the Gaetanista Army of Colombia, have taken a new step in their negotiation process, signing an agreement in Doha that commits both sides to continue peace talks. The accord, named the Commitment to Peace in Doha, was formalized during a ceremony attended by representatives of Colombia, the armed group, and international mediators. The signing took place in Qatar's capital on the 5th of December 2025. Delegates from both parties arrived with the stated objective of reinforcing a pathway toward eventual disarmament and establishing a framework for dialogue in regions controlled by the group. The agreement focuses on advancing discussions aimed at reducing violence, stabilizing communities, and addressing issues related to those detained in Colombia and abroad who belong to the group. Midway through the ceremony, cameras captured a critical moment, the signature of the document by EGC representative Luis Castaneda and Colombian government representative Alvaro Jiménez Millán. The two men sat side by side, each reviewing the final text before placing their signatures on the agreement. Their actions marked a tangible development in a negotiation process that has moved slowly in recent years. As Castaneda signed the document, observers noted the symbolic value of the gesture, given his role as a public representative of the Gaetanista army. Moments later, Jiménez Millán signed on behalf of the Colombian government, reaffirming Bogotà's commitment to a dialogue-based approach with armed groups that operate across multiple regions of the country. Following the signature, the two representatives stood and shook hands. That handshake, brief but deliberate, reflected a shared willingness to maintain communication despite deep mistrust between the sides and decades of conflict involving armed actors, territorial disputes, and violent criminal networks. Qatar's chief negotiator, Mohammed Al-Khulaifi, then addressed attendees. Qatar, along with Norway, Switzerland, and Spain, had served as mediators for this stage of the dialogue. The country's involvement follows its broader diplomatic posture in recent years, supporting negotiation platforms in conflict-affected regions. Al-Khulaifi emphasized the significance of the moment. In his first statement, he said the declaration represents a meaningful progression in the disarmament path. Speaking in Arabic, he stated, "This declaration represents a step towards the disarmament of the self-proclaimed EGC group and the building of peace afterwards." His remarks underlined the expectations attached to the Doha document not as a final settlement, but as an incremental advancement requiring further effort from all sides. The event also included statements from Agueda Plata Gómez, a representative of the Colombian government. Speaking in Spanish, she reaffirmed Colombia's commitment to negotiated solutions. In her concise message, she said, "Colombia chooses peace through dialogue and thanks all nations that accompany us on this path." Her comment referenced the coalition of international partners present at the talks, whose continued involvement is expected to play a stabilizing role as negotiations move to subsequent phases. Attention then shifted to the armed group's perspective. Luis Castaneda delivered a structured statement outlining the internal commitments of the Gaetanista Army's leadership. Speaking in Spanish, he declared, "This process demonstrates the commitment of the Joint Command under the leadership of Commander Javier to peace with the territories, with those deprived of their liberty in national and international prisons belonging to the Gaetanista Army of Colombia, and to the building of a society based on peaceful coexistence." His remarks highlighted three internal priorities: peace within the communities where the group operates, the situation of group members detained in Colombia and other countries, and a stated aspiration to contribute to a more stable societal environment. Although the group's actions have historically contradicted these stated objectives, the declaration marks one of the most explicit commitments it has made publicly. Al-Khulaifi followed with a second, more cautionary statement. Addressing the challenges ahead, he said in Arabic, "There will remain many obstacles and challenges that must be overcome. And we will continue our role as mediators in order to help the two parties take additional steps to boost trust." His message underscored the complexity of transitioning from a signed declaration to an actionable peace process. It also signalled Qatar's intention to remain engaged as a facilitator in upcoming discussion rounds, which are expected to address issues such as ceasefire conditions, territorial governance, humanitarian access, and the eventual roadmap to demobilization. Images from the event showed consistent engagement from all delegates throughout the ceremony. Al-Khulaifi's remarks were delivered to a focused audience, including Colombian officials, representatives from the armed group, and envoys from the mediating nations. Agueda, Plata, Gómez also spoke to the assembled participants, emphasizing the importance Colombia places on partnerships with the international community in stabilizing conflict-affected areas. The sequence of statements illustrated a structured flow of the event: presentation of the signed agreement, acknowledgement from the Colombian state, response from the armed group, and final remarks from the mediators. Each element contributed to a broader narrative of cautious progression. The commitment to peace in Doha is not a ceasefire document, nor does it represent an immediate disarmament agreement. Instead, it outlines intentions for continued dialogue, serving as a political and diplomatic mechanism to maintain momentum in a long-running process. The document builds on previous efforts in Colombia to reduce armed conflict through negotiation efforts that have involved various governments and multiple armed groups over several decades. The presence of international mediators reflects a growing trend of involving external partners in Colombia's peace initiatives. Norway has played similar roles in past negotiations with other armed groups, while Switzerland and Spain bring additional diplomatic experience to the process. Qatar's involvement is consistent with its expanding role as a neutral host for peace talks involving actors from different regions. Throughout the ceremony, officials emphasized that the process remains at an early stage. The signing represents an agreement to continue, not a resolution of existing tensions. Many of the underlying issues, territorial influence, narcotics trafficking, security control, and community protection, will require extended negotiation. Still, the Doha Agreement serves as an essential procedural step, providing a shared document that can anchor upcoming discussions. By formalizing their intentions in writing, both sides move into the next phase with clearer commitments. The statements from the Colombian government stressed dialogue as the central approach. The focus on gratitude toward the participating nations suggests Bogotá intends to maintain a multilateral framework, recognizing that external support may be necessary to ensure continuity, transparency, and guarantees for both sides. Meanwhile, the armed group's representative emphasized the internal alignment behind the process, referring to the role of Commander Javier within the organization's structure. His statement pointed to the group's interest in securing recognition for issues related to imprisoned members, which has historically been a major bargaining point in Colombian conflict talks. The mediators' cautionary remarks framed the path ahead as difficult. Al-Khulaifi's emphasis on trust building reflects one of the most challenging elements of negotiations between governments and armed groups. Trust typically develops slowly, depending on verifiable actions, security guarantees, and consistency across multiple stages of dialogue. As the event concluded, participants reiterated that future meetings are planned. These upcoming sessions are expected to detail specific mechanisms for dialogue in territories under the group's control and define steps for eventual disarmament. International mediators will continue to facilitate these exchanges, aiming to keep the process stable and incremental. The ceremony in Doha therefore marks the beginning of a renewed chapter in Colombia's efforts to negotiate with armed groups that have played a central role in decades of conflict. While significant challenges remain, the signing of the agreement provides a structured basis for continued talks supported by multiple nations. The situation now moves into its next phase, with negotiators preparing to outline concrete measures that will determine the success or failure of this diplomatic track. Monitoring, verification, and sustained political commitment will shape the direction of these efforts in the months ahead. The agreement signed in Qatar stands as the latest formal step in a process centered on dialogue, mediated cooperation, and gradual confidence building between the Colombian state and the Guetinista Army of Colombia. The coming rounds of negotiations will determine how these commitments translate into practical outcomes. This concludes the update on the Doha Agreement and the next steps in Colombia's ongoing peace negotiations with the EGC.